So these two, I've got my sister with me, and I went to pick up my brother and his football buddies after football practice. And it was like one of those like heck week practices. So they get in the car like swimming in their own sweat. And she is like climbing out the window, you know, just like, I can taste your sweat in my mouth. I mean, she was just like, I can't take this anymore. And that's how the yeast are with the lactobacilli. You get it too acidic. The lactobacilli continue to eat and produce too much acidity, and the yeast just don't like it. They'll perish, they'll panic. And so that's what happens if you let your starter go too long without eating. It'll get less bubbly. Your bread won't rise as high. It'll taste tangier. That's how you know your lactobacilli have gotten a little strong, your yeast need to be built up some more. So this cycle that I'm giving you for taking home and doing with your bread, what it allows you to do is build up your yeast so that they can become strong and happy. We do that by keeping them well fed and kind of babying them a little bit. We don't take anything away at first. We let it grow and get strong. And then at that point, we're able to use it. Now, at any point of your starter making, if your starter begins to sour, if you neglect it a little bit and it's not making as good a bread, you can use this cycle again. I also call it a healing cycle. You just do exactly what we're doing now, and you can build, take your starter down to a 1/4 cup and build it back up slowly, and your bread will be able to balance itself out. Okay? So that's why this is critical. I want you to learn how to do this from the beginning. There was a question, where was it? Yes.
Okay. I'm positive I'm not the only person in this room that doesn't grind their flour fresh.
Okay.
I really want this to work for my family.
Uh-huh.
Do I need to run out and buy a grinder and hard wheat tonight? Or can I feed it the whole wheat pre-ground stuff that I got from the grocery store?
Feed it what you got. I am a huge proponent. I thought I came up with this fancy saying. It turns out it was like Teddy Roosevelt. But the motto of do what you can where you are with what you have. And I may have gotten that mixed up. Forgive me if I did. But that's the gist of it. Whatever you have, use what you have. If you're ready to take the next step, grinding your wheat is not only more economical, but it's a lot easier than having to run to the store if you all of a sudden need to feed your starter and you realize you don't have any wheat. I have a grinder. I use it. I've definitely gotten my money back on that
I just wanted to make sure that it would eat the crap stuff that I have in my house.
Oh yeah, it'll be just fine. The store-bought flour, if that's what you have, then use it. You don't need to buy fancy equipment, or do what you can with what you have.
So will it eat white flour?
It will eat white flour. A lot of people keep white flour starters. If you're wanting to keep a white flour starter because you're concerned about making whole wheat bread, if people in your family don't like whole wheat bread, even keeping a whole wheat starter and using it in white bread, it adds a nice flavor to the white bread. Again, I'm not a proponent of white flour, but we all have to start somewhere. I had to start somewhere. My husband was not. He comes from a white bread, meat, and potatoes family. It took me a long time to help him appreciate wheat flour. So you just, white flour would be just fine. Whatever you're going to feed it, just be consistent with that. If you're going to feed it white flour, do white flour. If you're going to do whole wheat flour, do whole wheat flour. Don't mix back and forth. Okay? Yes, I'm sorry, I'll get to you.
If I just left my starter for a long time, like a long time, like the liquid on top is black, I can feed it and it will come back to life, right? I've done it before and it's come back to life. I obviously haven't used it a lot. I keep letting it do that. But do I just keep throwing stuff away? Like at what point could I use it again without, because it goes really sour and gross.
Yeah.
It's gross.
Yeah, and that's why it's always better to maintain a healthy starter than to have to heal one.
So I'm planning on doing that now.
And that's, and I have to be, for church things, I have to be careful. I really am not I'm not trying to plug my cookbook, but that's the reason that the cookbook came about, is I realized bread isn't the only thing I use wheat for. I'm eating a lot of whole wheat products or white wheat products outside of just bread. So I came up with recipes for muffins and pancakes and crepes, and I'm going to give you guys a waffle recipe tonight that just uses starter and no additional flour. So it's really easy to use your starter if it's time for it to eat and you don't want to check it.
But if it's bad now, would you
I would probably just get rid of it.
How many feedings would you go through before you would use
it? It depends on how sick your starter is.
It's probably pretty sick.
So it probably would take 2 cycles. So that would be the equivalent of like a little over 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay, so if you want to be that patient, go for it. If not, you'll have starter available to you tonight. You can just take a new one home and start over.
Okay.
You had a question?
Yeah, about water. I heard that people use like spring water,
Filtered water is ideal. It's ideal because each city has its own water treatment facility. They use different chemicals, different concentrations of chlorines and different chemicals. While a lot of starters can handle that just fine, some can't. If you don't have access to filtered water, you're concerned that your tap water is affecting your starter, one thing you can do is just fill up a pitcher with tap water and leave it out uncovered on the counter overnight. The chlorine will dissipate out the top of the water and make it easier for you that way. Yes?
When the start gets like hers and it's black on top, what do you do with the black stuff?
Just pour it off. Okay. And that's in your chart too. It says pour off liquid. Like you wait for the liquid and pour it off. Yes?
You normally do it with whole wheat flour. What are you going to do multi-grain?
Well, I'm so used to just teaching at regular classes, I keep like, like there is a thing in my cookbook that I talk about. You can actually even grind multi-grain flours by adding different grains to your grinder. But I do say multi-grain breads are fine. If you're going to be feeding your starter, just stick with the whole wheat, just for the feeding of the starter.
I have a breakfast blend that I use to make pancakes and waffles and other things with.
Chances are, though, a breakfast blend probably has more low-gluten flours in it, if it's made to make pancakes and waffles and things like that. Do you make it, or is it something you buy?
I buy the grain and grind it and make it.
Oh, okay. So
it's all whole grains.
Yeah, I mean, I recommend just trying to stick with something simple for your starter. You can get as fancy as you like with the flours for your bread making. The only thing I tell people is if you're working with low gluten grains, like spelt or kamut or rice or oatmeal, keep that to about 25% of your whole flour content.
Better just to do the wheat starter, though.
Yeah. I mean, as you get comfortable with this, you'll find out little things that work for your schedule and your ability. But on the whole, I say just stick with something simple, something that you can duplicate easily. Okay, so every time you feed your starter, you're going to be doubling its volume. We're going to look at this sheet. When you go home today with your starter, you're going to start at number 1. Okay? Now, you will not be going home with an entire quarter cup. I'm going to be giving you a little bit less than that just because of how many people we have here. But you're going to treat it like it's a quarter cup. Okay, you're going to engage your imaginations. The tablespoon I give you will be a quarter cup.
Flour too. So if we want, we can.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
grinding.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. Well, then we better hustle.
So yeah, we can go. So.
Okay. Then we really better hustle. So what you're going to do is every time you feed it, you're going to double its volume. And if you look at the chart, you'll see whatever you start with, it's a 1-to-1 to heaping 1 ratio. You'll have if you have 1 cup of starter, you're going to feed it 1 cup of water and a heaping cup of flour. Okay? That's the ratio that you will follow in any volume size. If you have 6 cups of flour, you're going to feed 6 cups of starter, you're going to feed it 6 cups of water, 6 heaping cups of flour. Okay? And the main thing, and this is the number 2, is consistency. We're going for a particular consistency because the humidity varies and all these different things that play a factor in bread. The consistency we're going for is like a room temperature butter. You should be able to smear it up the side of your container and watch it slowly slip down. And actually, if someone wants to volunteer a jar, I will feed some starter right now and show you what that consistency looks like. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to try and scoot this closer. Oh.
That's as close as you're going to get.
That's as close as we're getting. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you really quick as I prepare to feed this. I want to